Target acquired. Confirmed. Stand by.
You don't apply for this job. The job finds you. It finds you because you scored in the top 0.3% on a military aptitude battery nobody told you was a screening tool, because your psych evaluation flagged something specific, not instability, the opposite, an unusual capacity to detach emotion from decision-making under extreme stress. Most people, when the pressure hits, either freeze or spiral. You simplified. The evaluators noted it, filed it, waited. You're 24, infantry, 2 deployments, a commendation nobody explained properly. You thought it was routine. It wasn't. A man in civilian clothes meets you at a base coffee shop. No rank, no agency name. He slides a folder across the table and gives you exactly 10 minutes to read it. The folder describes a program that officially doesn't exist, inside a directorate that isn't listed on any org chart. He calls it a support function for national security objectives. You call it what it is: state-sanctioned killing, dressed in the language of policy. He tells you the washout rate is 85%. He tells you the work saves lives. He tells you that the targets are people whose continued existence produces body counts the public never sees. He tells you almost everything, except the one thing that matters most. Once you're in, the door only opens one direction. You say yes before he finishes the sentence, not because you're reckless, because some part of you already knew the folder was coming. The training facility doesn't look like anything. A converted agricultural complex in a geography you're discouraged from identifying. 15 recruits. By the end of 6 months, there will be 4. The first month is not weapons, not tactics, it's psychology. You sit in rooms with behavioral scientists who explain exactly how the human mind justifies violence, resists it, and eventually normalizes it. They're not trying to deprogram your conscience. They're trying to make it precise. Blunt conscience gets people killed. Overactive conscience gets missions aborted. They want a scalpel, not a hammer. You study targets the way medical students study anatomy, not as enemies, as systems. Their routines are vulnerabilities. Their relationships are vectors. Their habits are timelines. You learn to watch a person for 3 weeks and predict their movements within a 4-minute window. You learn that most people are heartbreakingly predictable, because predictability is how humans feel safe. The weapons training comes later, and it's almost secondary. 1 week on firearms, 2 days on bladed tools. Most of what you practice are methods that leave no obvious signature. Drugs that metabolize, staged incidents, environmental manipulation. The art is making the death look like the world. 3 recruits wash out in week 2. 1 breaks during a psychological stress exercise that none of you were warned was coming. 2 more leave quietly in the night, decisions made in darkness that nobody discusses. You stay because the work makes a terrible kind of sense to you. This is a machine, and you fit its tolerances exactly. Your first operation is in a European city, business district, gray sky. The target is a logistics coordinator for a network that moves weapons into conflict zones where those weapons kill aid workers and journalists. He has a family, 3 children. You know this because his file is 47 pages and you read every word. You spend 9 days in the city before anything happens. You eat at the same cafes he eats at. You adjust to his rhythms. You become invisible by becoming ordinary. This is the skill nobody tells you about in training, the ability to be completely unremarkable, to stand in a room and register as furniture. The operation takes 11 seconds when it finally moves. You fly home the next morning, business class, newspaper, coffee. The man's death makes a small item in a regional newspaper 2 days later. Cardiac event. He was 43, apparently a history of heart problems nobody knew about. You file your report. Your handler approves it. You're paid in a structure so indirect it would take a forensic accountant months to trace, and then you wait for the next one. What surprises you most is not the absence of guilt, it's the absence of triumph. You expected one or the other. What you feel instead is the same quiet competence you'd feel after any job done correctly, the same flat satisfaction of a problem solved. You file that observation away. You're not sure yet whether it means something good about your psychology or something very bad. By year 3, you're not running operations, you're running campaigns. A campaign is a sequence of removals designed to collapse a structure. You don't take out one node, you map the entire network and work through it in an order calculated to create maximum disruption with minimal attribution. 3 removals in 6 months, each looking unrelated, each landing in a different country. By the time anyone connects the pattern, the network no longer has the capacity to respond. You're good at this, uncomfortably good. But good at something terrible creates its own gravity. The operations get larger, the targets get more complex, and the intelligence you're working from gets harder to verify. The first time you execute on bad intelligence, the target turns out to be adjacent to the actual network, not embedded in it. Not innocent, not entirely, but not what the file described. The operation is classified as a success. The discrepancy is buried in a footnote you only see because you know where to look. You raise it with your handler, once, carefully. He tells you the broader picture justified the margin of error. He uses the phrase collateral calculus. You write it down, not because you agree, because you want to remember the exact moment when you understood that the machine you work for is not always certain it's pointing at the right target. It just needs to be certain enough. 7 years in, somewhere past 30 confirmed operations. You stopped counting the way you were told to stop counting. Counting feels like something between vanity and punishment. You've developed a reputation in the small world of people who know this world exists. Reliable, clean, low exposure. Handlers trust you with operations that have no margin for error, missions where a second attempt is impossible because the window only opens once. But something has been shifting. The faces started coming back around year 5, not as nightmares, as quiet intrusions. A face appearing between thoughts while you wait for a train, a name surfacing while you read something unrelated. The human mind is not designed for the work you've been doing. It accepts it, adapts to it, but it keeps receipts. You see a therapist who has clearance. She can't discuss specifics. You can't discuss specifics. You talk around a building neither of you can enter directly. She tells you what you're experiencing is normal. You tell her that doesn't help. She says it's not supposed to help. It's supposed to remind you that you're still human. You're not sure whether that's reassuring or a warning. The last operation is in Southeast Asia, a port city. Humid, the kind of heat that presses down on everything. The target is a man who has spent 2 decades facilitating the disappearance of journalists, dissidents, opposition figures. Not a soldier, an administrator. The kind of man who never touches anything with his hands, but whose signature moves whole chains of violence forward. You spend 6 days watching him. He feeds pigeons in a market square every morning at 7:15. He calls his wife from the same bench every Wednesday. He reads with his coffee and marks the margins with a red pen. You do what you were built to do. On the flight home, somewhere over water, you look at your hands, steady as they've always been. And you understand for the first time that steadiness, the thing that made you valuable, the thing that passed every evaluation and cleared every psychological screen, was never neutrality. It was a cost that simply deferred payment. The bill is arriving now, slowly, quietly, in the same way everything important happens. You retire with documentation that doesn't describe your real work, a pension tied to a cover career. a house in a city where nobody knows your name's history. The skills remain, the judgment remains, the faces remain. Some nights you think about the people who are alive because of what you did, the attacks that didn't happen, the networks that collapsed, the journalists who came home because the man facilitating their disappearance no longer existed to facilitate anything. The math doesn't balance. It was never supposed to balance. You were a tool the state needed and then quietly put away. The work was real. The cost was real. And somewhere in a building you'll never re-enter, a new recruit is reading a folder in a coffee shop, 10 minutes on the clock, deciding whether to say yes. The cycle continues.